Hey everybody, it's Dustin again with the Webex Devices team. And today I'm really excited to talk to you about a new feature that is soft launched, will be for the most part readily available to everyone starting February the 15th. But today's video is going to be a little bit different because we're going to really kind of do an overview or talk about a new feature or a new experience that we're going to have for our customers who are using the Webex Edge for devices. So this is actually going to be part of a multi-video series, mainly because there's a lot to it, and I'm going to talk through some things today, show you a few things to how to get this enabled, and kind of give you some expectations as to what this means to you and what it means to your customers. So to start off, we're going to basically kind of give you an overview of what this feature is. So we're calling this, and this is kind of a big name right now, but it's going to be the Webex Meetings Experience for Webex Edge for devices. Kind of a shorthand name we've used is kind of a native Webex experience for your Edge devices. But at a high level, I'm just going to kind of tell you what that means. So if you have Webex Edge for devices today and you're familiar with it, we've got a couple videos which explains a little bit as to what it is, how to set up devices. But the idea here is that it gives you a stepping stone, so a way to begin to link your devices or make your devices cloud aware, but maintaining most control and especially call control specifically to your on-premise environment. So whether that's call manager, VCS, whatever. Now the advantage here is that for those who want to stay on a particular version of software or want to slowly work or step their way as a migration before they go full cloud, along with a couple other reasons that you may want to do this, it's become a very popular way to kind of get some of the features of Control Hub, the features of the cloud experience, Assistant is another one, for example, but without having to commit full cloud, having some control over your dial plan. So this is kind of an evolution of Edge, and what we're doing here is kind of providing a next step in this journey to where we're hoping to get to where we're going to have kind of this concept of dual registration or true cloud and true on-prem registration. So in doing this, what we're going to basically do is allow you to continue to keep all of the same features that you have today with Webex Edge for devices, but you'll be able to opt in to the experience to where when you have an Edge device and you go to join a Webex meeting, that you'll actually get cloud Webex features. So you join as though it is a cloud device rather than a transcoded SIP on-prem device. And I'm going to go through a couple slides here and kind of talk through this a little bit here in just a second. And hopefully this will come a little bit clearer. And I know we're going to have a lot of questions on this one, so please comment down below. As always, definitely subscribe. And of course, you can always reach out to me on the Webex app just using my email address. But let me go ahead and let me switch over to my PowerPoint here, and I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so the Webex Meetings Experience for Webex Edge. So what is the difference? And the biggest difference here, as I mentioned already, is how you join. So you're going to have your same existing call control versus direct calling into Webex. So as I mentioned before, the idea here is that with traditional Edge and what you have today, when you make a call into a Webex meeting or a PMR, you're essentially doing a SIP dial through your call control, through your VCS expressways, however you have your call routing, and you have a simple SIP transcoded experience. With this new meetings experience, when you opt in, what are you going to gain? So here I have already mentioned the transcoded experience versus the multi-stream or switched experience. So you're going to have some more dynamic layouts, some of the other features that you have in regards to a cloud registered versus on-prem. Including some of the meeting controls. Cloud and meeting features too. So, things like the ability to have the host or co-host, which we've done some videos on, the ability to admit participants, mute controls, mute all, unmute, request mute. Some of these things are some features that are just now getting ready to start GA for cloud. We've done some videos. I'm going to do some more on these as well. But all of those same advanced features that you get with a full cloud device, you'll now get on this Edge device because it will be joining as though it was a cloud device. Things like two-way whiteboarding, the far-end camera control feature that we've recently done a video on that's just went generally available. That will now come to your devices that are on Edge. So active speaker, the indicator that we've done a video on, and some of the advanced layout controls which I mentioned also will become available. So the idea here is that when you are on this experience and you opt into this experience, when you join a WebEx meeting or join into a PMR, you're going to essentially get, for the most part, the same exact experience that you would get with a cloud device. We also want to mention here that you're going to get some of the enhanced room intelligence features. So like the Webex Assistant, which you get that to some degree today, but also things like the cloud closed captioning is going to be available as well. And then as we are beginning to EFT and release some of these other things, such as gestures and gesture controls, like the raise hand feature, those things will also be available. So in the initial release, and as of today, not all of these features are exactly with feature parity. Just from a timing perspective, to let you know that I'm going to go to another slide here and kind of talk about this, and we're going to walk through how to actually set this up so you can begin some limited testing today. But some of these features, a vast majority of them will become available in February with our next release of RoomOS, and then there'll be a few more that will be available in March, or the next March release. So I'm going to do some follow-up videos with those, actually demonstrating some of this, because this is a lot to do in just one video. But again, just stay tuned. We will have a good comprehensive list of what you're going to be able to get in February, and then what will be delayed through to March. So I'm going to go to my next slide here. And so this is a good slide because I wanted to bring up some meetings experience considerations. So how does this affect my existing devices on Edge? So a couple things that you're going to have to do and change, and I'm going to go through this and show you so you'll have a little walkthrough. But you must enable the ability to manage devices from Control Hub. This is something that we've had for a while. We've talked about this, where you can leverage the CloudX API to be able to manage your on-prem devices. It gives that management link there. That has to be enabled for this to happen. A lot of people are doing that already. This is a big one, but you must opt in to cloud upgrades. So I haven't done a detailed video on this yet. I know I've mentioned it before, and I will probably do a separate video just for this, but similar to how we have cloud devices today, you have, the ability to set your device, and it does cloud upgrades. You have your monthly stable builds. Sometimes we have hot fixes, and you also have the ability to change the channel for things like the beta build or the preview build. Betas for those of you who are on our EFT. When you opt into cloud upgrades, you're essentially doing the exact same thing for your on-prem devices. So you will have to be opted into this and have to be on a recent version of RoomOS code in order for this to work. Now, obviously, this is going to be something that's going to be maybe a limiting factor for a lot of customers, because they want to have that control of being able to keep that the version of software, tested or just for their devices, because of whatever policies you may have. And I definitely understand that, but you have to keep in mind too that because we are releasing these features and how we're going to release them, it's very important that in order for you to get some of these cloud features, that you're on a version of code that is going to be able to be supported. And the way for us to ensure that is to make sure that you're on the same version that the cloud version is. Otherwise, we'll run into a lot of potential issues or things that we weren't able to particularly test, because if there's so many versions of code that we would have to support and test these features on, or a feature will become available and you would expect it and come to find out, well, I'm not on this certain version of code. So a big caveat there, a big thing that I want to make sure that I mention, and we're going to show you that here in just a second. And then the last thing that you'll do in this, in order to make this enabled, is to change the device configuration to be able to allow it to use the WebEx protocol. So we're going to show you that as well. And then what will happen is whenever you go to join a WebEx meeting, it will automatically be able to join via what we call Locust, or the direct WebEx meeting experience directly from the device, instead of going through your traditional dial plan and call routing. Now, what are some other considerations? Well, first and foremost is you have to consider your network and just overall bandwidth. So, and I misspelled bandwidth there, so, but I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. Network-wise, for a lot of corporations or businesses, you have, your call control, you have a set call path for all of your calls. And for a lot of people, they're using, the Edge for VCS, and so they're able to do that firewall traversal and go straight through. In order to use this experience, you're going to have a direct experience from the device to the WebEx cloud. So what that means is it will not follow that same path. So looking at the network guide for cloud devices, you need to make sure that your devices have the ability to talk directly to WebEx in order for this to happen, because they will be talking directly to WebEx instead of using your traditional call routes. So kind of a big thing to consider there, because a lot of environments may not have this opened up. They never needed it because your devices never had to talk directly. It just basically would have to talk to your inside VCS control, for example. Some other things to consider is going to be feature parity. So, and I alluded to this before, you can turn this on today and start experiencing a little bit of this right now. However, some of these features that we're talking about, like some of the active controls, some things in regards to the layouts and things, some of those things are not available in the current stable build. So while you can go ahead and turn this on and start seeing some of these features and prepare for your devices being able to talk directly to the WebEx cloud for these types of meetings, not everything is available today. A lot of things will be available. Again, I'm going to do some follow-up videos talking about this. We'll also have some announcements and release notes which will explain this, but showing you what features will be available starting February, and then which ones we're hoping to kind of catch up to and be on par and in parity with cloud by March. So the gap will be very, very small, but I do want to point that out. Another thing I want to talk about, or things for you to consider, are what the types of meetings. So for right now, this is basically going to be anything going to the WebEx cloud. So basically any site, so at webex.com, including CVI experiences. So the experience you get with a cloud device using our CVI or video interop for Microsoft Teams, that is at m.webex.com. So at whatever.webex.com, anything at webex.com will be able to use this direct cloud experience, the native Webex Meetings Experience. Some other considerations just to kind of mention is just the fact that, again, I think a lot of these are kind of the big ones I just kind of want to go over again, but the cloud upgrades, the type of meetings, and I also want to mention that that this is something that's going to continue to grow. So whereas today we're looking at just WebEx meetings, other things to consider is that this is not going to change your phone book. You're not going to have the cloud-based search or phone book yet, and this doesn't apply to point-to-point calls. So whereas today, if I have a cloud registered device and I call another device directly, I have that cloud experience. I do not get that in this first version of the WebEx Meetings Experience for WebEx devices on Edge. So with that being said, I'm now going to come over here and bring up my browser, and we're going to take a look at this. So again, we're going to do some more videos, but I'm going to first of all go over here. I'm going to devices, and I'm going to show you how to make sure that you're enabled for management of your devices inside of Control Hub. So you're going to go to your devices tab once you're logged in Control Hub. You're going to go to your settings, and then I'm going to scroll down here, and you're going to see the Webex Edge for devices. So you have to make sure that this is turned on, and you have to allow Control Hub to manage your configurations. This is the very first step that you have to do. The second thing you have to do here is I'm going to go back to my devices, and I'm going to bring up my device that I have working here. I'm going to go with the my 85, my Webex Edge board here. So you'll see here that this device, as you see, is linked via Webex Edge. And one of the things that I'm actually going to do here is, first of all, I'm going to go to the workspace that it's tied or belongs to. So here you're going to see the Webex Edge board. I'm going to go here. And one of the things I want you to notice now is that I now have this software upgrade channel available. So now this is something that I have to enable, so I need to go back and show you this. I'm actually going to click on this, and I'm going to go to my device configurations. And at the bottom here under Webex, you're going to see that I have this cloud upgrades mode. So when I turn this on, the default value now is off. Eventually this will be changed to be a default of on, and you'll be able to opt out, but for the short term and the near future, this will be a value of off. So you have to turn this to on. When you do that, you will then see this change. Instead of being on-premises managed, you'll be able to now come up here just like you would a cloud device and change your preview channel or your software upgrade channel. This one right here I actually have on beta. So once you do that, you're now going to see that your device will actually be on the RoomOS version that's the same for cloud. So in this particular instance, we're on RoomOS 10.1.2, which is the latest beta that we have available, and that's what this on-prem device is using. Now finally, I'm going to go back to my device configuration to show you the last thing to get this experience. Going back to my configurations here, and you can do this directly on the device. I'm showing through Control Hub here because it's easier. But when I go to Webex, you're going to see that I have this Webex Meetings Join Protocol. And this right here is where you can change it from SIP or you can change it to Webex. So there is no default value here currently, but we're going to let you kind of choose. You have to come in here and you want to actively choose Webex, and what that'll do is now whenever you have a Webex meeting, this is what's going to allow it to actually talk directly from the device to the cloud. So even though you do opt into these cloud upgrades, and let's say you do have control, you still can come in here and turn that off and then or do some testing and force this to go to SIP. Now, one thing I want to mention here that's kind of cool, and it's kind of a precursor for what we're looking at longer term, but it's funny in testing this, I've already had someone ask me this, but one of the things that was asked was, well, what about things like, what if my call manager goes down, or what if my, ability to get to the Webex cloud goes down? Well, right now, if I do have this set to Webex, there's no intelligence, but I could come in here and turn this off. So I could turn this to SIP, and let's say that I'm, for some reason, blocking the ability to get to Webex directly. If I change this to SIP, I can go back to using the old call flow and use my existing call flow. On the flip side, let's say that something was down with my VCS or my call manager and I wasn't able to make any type of SIP calls. Well, if I have this enabled, as long as my device can still reach the Webex cloud, I can still make those calls even if I am not registered or if I'm not connected to my on-prem call manager or there's an issue there. So if you think about this, this is going to kind of open up the doors for us to eventually do things like being able to control dial plans where we can decide which calls we want to go directly to the Webex cloud and be routed through Webex, and which types of calls we want to actually go to our local call manager, for example. That also would provide us for kind of this concept of a true dual registration where you could truly fail over one way or the other if one of these two instances go down. So a lot of really great things that's going to come out of this. And this is a long video. I know it's a lot to kind of go through, but I wanted to give somewhat of a detailed overview of what to expect initially and kind of give you some ideas of where our thoughts are, going forward. And hope you guys like this video. I really expect a lot of excitement around this, and I think that there's going to be a lot of questions, so I'm definitely prepared for that. So bring them on, and definitely continue to subscribe because I'm going to be doing a lot more videos over the coming weeks, specifically with this and a couple other features that we've got coming out. So as always, thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you again.